Welcome to Alligator Preserves, everyone. I am Laurel McHargue, your host, and today I have a really fun guest. I always have very unique guests, and today I'm going to introduce you to someone who likes to think out of the out of this world. And I'm going to call her a Renaissance woman. Her name is Jodi Bowersox. Jodi, welcome to Alligator Preserves.
It's nice to be here. To
It's
be
nice to
there and here at the same time. It's
I
amazing.
I know. Technology is such a double-edged sword. I love it. I love it when it's the edge that cuts what I want to cut.
Right?
Right. So, Jodi, tell our audience why you think I introduce you as a Renaissance woman.
Well, I'm guessing it's because I write in a number of different genres. I also do art and some other things. I actually started out thinking I would be an actress. I have a theater degree. And so that's where my heart was way back when. But that, is a big trek, different trail. You have to go different places and do different things if you really want to do that. I was kind of a small town person, and so the big city thing didn't really appeal to me at that point. And besides, you get married, you have children, everything derails whatever you think you're going to do in the beginning. So that never really. I mean, I did do some stuff. We did community theater. I did some little advertisements here and there. My brother was like a did videos for Payless shoes at one point. So me and my kids got to do Payless shoe ads a couple of times. So that was kind of fun.
So,
But I just have always liked to do different things, and I've been blessed with the ability to do it. I have to
yeah,
add.
you say derails. I would say re-rails. It you were rerouted.
Right?
Yeah, but
That's happened several times. So okay, you just go with the flow. Where are we now?
yeah, and I had no idea that you had a theater background as well. So when I called you a Renaissance woman, I knew things that I didn't even know. How about that? And you're coming to us from where right now?
Colorado Springs, pretty much right in the middle of town.
Okay,
So that's something I never city, but it's been okay. I've got a nice backyard full of trees, so I can retreat to that. And yeah,
nice. Well, today we're going to talk specifically, well, we'll talk about other things, but we're going to talk specifically about Mars Madness. So this is the first book in a series of three that I have read. And oh my goodness. All right. So I met with you, I think a few months ago, and I recall you saying something about upending the tropes of a specific genre. Talk about how do you see the genre for Mars Madness, and how does this book differ from what readers might find on bookshelves in stores right now?
Yeah. Well, my motto for writing is I write mostly romance. There's romance in every novel in some way, even if it's not the very main thing. It's in there. And I really feel like the romance genre is extremely tropey. It's very okay. You've got to have the marriage of convenience trope, or the bodyguard trope, or the millionaire romance trope, and it's really annoying to me. And my motto is real life, real love, and people don't live in tropes. And so I don't ever think about a trope when I'm writing. If something, if we end up having friends to lovers romance, is all by chance growing out of the characters, rather than starting with that idea that I have to somehow form my story into that trope. So I just kind of don't even think about it. And for Mars Madness, where it's sci-fi, it's humor, and it's romance, I think that's kind of breaks the rules in a lot of the trope world. But it's just a lot of fun. And I have to tell you where the idea for this series came from was another one of my series, which is a contemporary faith fiction series. There was an author in there who I billed as being someone who wrote romantic, humorous sci-fi. And I gave her these titles of Mars Madness and Beware the Eyes of Mars. So I just had the titles to go from. And I thought later, when I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to write next? Well, wouldn't it be fun if I wrote her books? And so I kind of went from just the title, what can I do with Mars Madness, and, et cetera. And then I had to come up with the last one, the Mars Air. All of these, of course, are replacing the word March in
Right.
every way and kind of messing with it. And so it was just, it was a fun experiment, and it allowed me to just push the quirkiness as far as I could go, and that, I think that was great fun to just to push the levels of fun in it. So
I would say this is a very, very quirky book, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So, I mean, there are so many subgenres of romance, right? I mean, so many.
right now there's
What
like dark alien romances. You can like, okay, that's a little out there for me, but
and there are
yeah.
some we might not even want to talk about.
Oh yeah. Plenty, yeah.
Hmm. What did you read as a younger you?
Oh wow. I I read a lot of romances. My mother had collections of, like, the old school romances of Grace Livingston Hill and Emily and Laurel.
Bodice, bodice ripping ones?
No, they really weren't. They
No?
weren't like that. They were clean romances because it was my mother's romances. But but still, it was, it had the romantic element in there. And so I read those. I read a lot of Nancy Drew. I read, Trixie Belden. That's what was out there. That's what you read. But then later on, I got into more of the sci-fi and fantasy books. I have a collection of Piers Anthony's Xanth series, and uh, I read John Carter on Mars and those kinds of books. I had a job where I could do a lot on my own.
What
It
was your
was
job?
oh, it was sales of decorator fabrics, do it yourself, for the do it yourselfer. So there was a lot of time where I was just sitting, you'd clean the store, whatever, but it wasn't one of those huge customer kind of places, it was very nichey. And so, yeah, I got to read a lot and do a lot of hand projects and all of that. So I read the whole Xanth series while I was doing that job. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I went, but I just really love, I mean, I don't have a, there might be some genres that I don't enjoy as much, but I still like to read a wide variety. If it's a good book, I mean, that's the main criteria for me. Is it a good, well-written book?
Right, right. Did any particular author inspire you
I
to
love,
write quirky romance?
well, not as quirky as this, but one of my favorite authors is Lois McMaster Bujold, and she writes fantasy and sci-fi.
Okay.
And she has an amazing series, her Vorkosigan series, which has the most. Miles Vorkosigan is, I think, one of the best characters ever put together. He's just so fascinating and so multifaceted and so broken, and so, it's just he's just such a great character that it was a fantastic series to read through. And I think that she probably influenced a lot of the way I write. Just
All
I just
right.
her.
All right. So in Mars Madness, you do have the trope of love triangles, right?
I do.
And oh my gosh, we're talking lots of love triangles. And the funniest one is with a character named Minnie. Talk to our audience about Minnie.
Well, Minnie is a maid, but she's an android maid. And Minnie Maid actually comes from um, my 4-H club when I was a kid, where we were the mini maids. And so when I come up with her name, I said, "Oh, it has to be Minnie." And so, so anyway, has been programmed to be a maid, but then we find out that she has been sort of fiddled with, and suddenly she has this fetish for the man of the house, and she can't. Everything is all about Doug,
Doug.
and so yeah. So and it just gets worse and worse as time goes on, and so that's just a fun little thing to deal with in the book.
So, I mean, you have a lot of situational humor interspersed with the suspense because there's a lot of suspense here as well. You know,
Right.
you've got this trip to Mars, and it's a lottery to get into it, and you know the person who wins it, there some nefarious activities perhaps around that, and extra people who end up on board who shouldn't be there, and but just funny and ridiculous. But back to Minnie, what are your thoughts about AI right now?
Well, I wrote good AI, man. These were good, you know, but we do have the element of, especially as you get into this book, of where AI can be messed up. This is the Beware the Eyes of Mars, and there is a problem with some of the security androids that are being messed with.
Okay.
And so that kind of gets into the area of, yes, we trust them until we don't because there's something wrong. And so that kind of gets explored in there, and just the whole idea of really what makes life, what how do we define life. And at some point, if this android, and I never really pinned down the date here, it's just very 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 far in the future, that you've got androids that you can't even tell from humans, and they have the ability to reason, and even we find out love, in the very newest line of androids, that there's just all kinds of questions that have to be answered with that, and all new prejudices and new things that have to be dealt with when you have that kind of situation. So it really
Rights
goes
and
deep.
and Android rights, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we going to see uh, crates of minis on Costco shelves soon?
Yeah, and that's what's interesting, is that the minis, that there's not just one mini. All the maids are named Minnie. All of the top line security guys were Vincents, and all of the lower level security guys all have the same name also, and the secretaries all have the same name. So it's kind of interesting in that way. And then in that Minnie who's been messed with, she becomes her own person basically. So she's no longer like the Minnie line. She's her own Minnie. Then she has to find her own way. So
All right. So we've got the mini maid who just has a ridiculous romance with the main character. And we find, and I'm not going to, no spoiler alert as to who messed with her programming. Gene splicing of horses. So first of all, do you have a horse? Do you have horses? Have you ever
I
had
have
horses?
had horses in the past. Yes, yes, I do. Um, so yeah, that was just where that idea came from. That's a wonder. Where the idea
Well,
for horses on Mars. I'm not sure where that came from, but yeah, at this point, I should write those things down. Where did this idea come from? Because you lose them after a while. But yeah, just the idea that we had this crazy geneticist who wanted to create horses who could live outside the dome. And why? Because he could. I think often that's a scientific thing. It's like, why do this? Well, because I can. Because it's interesting to me. Because it piques my curiosity. And yeah, so
and because it might need to be done in order for horses to be able to survive on Mars. And
right,
then that brings up the idea of Mars being obviously a new frontier.
right,
And yeah, yeah,
right, right.
that was that. that was a really fun embellishment of the story of everyone who is on this ship. Well, let me ask you this. If you won a lotto to get a ticket to go to Mars, would you be excited about it?
Not at this point. I'm not sure I would be even. I've never been a huge traveler person. I don't. And if I could just, if we could do the jump, the leap, the Star Trek
Beam me
model,
up, beam me up. Yeah.
the transporter, I'm with you. But the traveling process exhausts me. I end up getting where I'm going, and I just want to take a nap. So uh, so I'm not a big traveler, but the what is the Mars Madness? The transport is like, gosh, was it like 3 months to get there? I think so. So that's why the transport is like a luxury cruise liner, so that everybody has something to do for that length of time, and so yeah.
And
So
and
in that situation, maybe.
yeah, yeah. And plenty of places to hide.
Right.
So did you do any research about travel, intergalactic travel for the? I mean,
Yeah,
what kind of research went into this between the fact that you had horses and gene splitting and this marvelous ship that's going to Mars, and yeah, and the space is fabulous. By the way, the space is fascinating. Every different space that you take us to in here is
yeah,
unique. Yeah,
yeah. I did have to do research on, well, just the time frame. First of all, how long would it take to get to Mars? What's the window of opportunity to, you want it, they would do it when Mars is the closest to Earth, for the trip. And then just, I mean, I also researched cruise ships and the kind of stuff they would have on it. And in it has one of those wind tunnel things that you can ride on. And so I had to research that. I've never done that, so I had to research that and what that's like. And of course I've played miniature golf before. That's in here, but I had to really punch that up with a lot of fun things to make it funny and futuristic, and yeah, just
incredible.
yeah. And then just Mars itself, you want to know what the terrain is like, what the atmosphere is like, especially as we get into the other books where, like this one, actually, they venture outside quite a bit. And the whole kind of climax is like a ways away from the dome as they're chasing the bad guys. But so I had to know, what's the terrain like, what's the weather like, what's that, it has this famed blue sunset on Mars that's different from our sunsets. And there's lots of wind and a lot of red dust flying around all the time. And then as I got into this one, the part of the plot is that there's all these tunnels underneath the domes that nefarious people are making use of. And I came up with the idea before I found out that, I had to say, well, why would there be tunnels? I had to answer that. And
Right.
where would they what would they do with all that dirt? What if the tunnels were dug after the domes, who would not notice that happening, kind of thing?
Yeah.
So then I just had to do research on the basic terraforming of Mars and how would they start. And I was excited to find out is that they would start with mining. So they would mine the area first and get, use those minerals and whatever that they would need for doing this whole terraforming. So it's like, yay, tunnels. They would start with tunnels. And then over time, they kind of just forgot that the tunnels were there. And then they were rediscovered. So that was fun. That was like my idea actually works with real life. So yeah.
Yeah. So you seemed surprised while you were writing this first of the series. Um, did any of your characters surprise you? And again, when I
Oh,
write, oftentimes it's like all of a sudden one of my characters will say something, it'll take me in a whole different direction in a scene.
right.
What kind
Yeah.
of surprises did you get while you were writing this?
Well, Blaze, which I always thought Blaze is such a goofy guy, And that name, it's like it was a name of one of my son's friends, like when he was in grade school. And I always thought, who on earth would name their kid Blake? So I just had to throw that in, which you find out later that that's even not his real name. But he, so he was just going to be, that comic relief, that, something to for I have so many names in my
I
head. I don't
know.
have names
Cat.
anymore. My Katerina,
Yeah.
Katrina McKenna, um, she she and Doug are broke up, and so he's this guy that's just trying to
A
insert
flame.
himself.
A
Yeah,
little flame called
little
Blaze.
happening. Yeah, so he was just supposed to be humor and whatever, and then at some point it's thought, oh my god, I can make him work with the deeper plot
Yeah.
too. So that's always fun when those ideas hit. And that happens a lot where I think you've got a side character and they just kind of grow into their own main, main character. That
Yeah.
happens in
Yeah.
my light
Oh,
stories too a lot. So
no, that's happening right now with the novel I've been working on for 3 years.
yeah.
How long does it take you to write each of these novels, approximately?
I used to do 2 books a year. I've kind of slowed down. I got getting out one a year now, but yeah, I used to be able to write a novel in 3 months, and then you did
Oh,
like 3 months of
editing and
editing and all of the business to get it published, but 3 or 4. But yeah, I've slowed down quite a bit on that. But and that's just because other things have entered in. I mean,
yeah,
writing is still my most happiest of happy places. So, that's I get cranky when I don't write for a while.
do you have a routine? Not that anyone out there listening should have your routine, but I'm always curious about different authors' routines
Well,
for
some
writing.
people are that, like we have friends that are up at 6 and they're writing and they've got like 2,000 words by 10 o'clock, and I'm like, no,
Hate them.
no, that doesn't happen in my world. Um, but yeah, I just kind of whenever I can, that's just kind of it. I try to fit it in whenever it's possible. Um, I don't always succeed, but yeah, it's some days I can write all day. I've had weeks where it's like, oh, I have nothing on my calendar. I can write all week, but that is rare these days.
Do you have
So
a special place where you write?
right here, I don't like to write longhand. I hate laptops, confuse me and just make me frustrated. So yeah, I give me a regular old keyboard and a big old monitor and I'm set.
Nice. Yeah, yeah, me too. I write in different places. I have a very nice desk right now, my husband made, but sometimes I sit over by the fire. Sometimes I'm up in the kitchen. Yeah, I write around. Some people sleep around. I write around. Yeah. um, so a lot of characters in this book. You've got Kat's BFF,
Oh,
Clorinda, who
yes,
tells it like it is.
yes.
Um, you've got Blaze, of course,
Mhm.
Doug, Alejandro, and
Oh, yeah,
Ariel. That whole intrigue going on there, and of course the precocious Frankie.
yes.
Why do I see you in the precocious Frankie? Are you any of these characters?
I'm probably more cat in her, not in her germophobia stuff, but just in her, just a little bit scaredy pants because I don't do risky physical stuff. I don't. I would be that person who goes back down the ladder once I've decided the water slide is too high. That is because I'm not a height person. I'm not, so there's probably a lot of elements of me and her. And I don't Frankie is such a yeah, like she's precocious, she's so smart that she doesn't really even know how smart she is. She's just so genius. And she goes on in all of these books till she's the star of the last one.
Oh,
Uh,
good.
all,
Oh,
all
good. I
grown,
love her.
yeah, all grown up. so yeah, it's interesting where she actually becomes the head of Mars security.
Oh,
Uh,
oh,
or not the Mars security, the cyber part of securing
okay,
the dome,
okay, all
so
right.
making the dome secure.
Well,
So
well, yeah, it surprises me a little bit because I was when you were talking about the wind tunnel and the flying that thing, I was hoping that your research would have had you experience that because I think there are places in Denver maybe where you could do
oh yeah,
that.
yes, I watch a lot of videos and
I think maybe we need to go meet in Denver someday and do that
I
because
like flying.
I've never
I
done
think
that. I
that would
mean,
be kind of interesting, actually.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah, she is me to an extreme. Not I'm not nearly as nuts as she is, but I do have the hyper organizational part down. I mean, that's very much me. I write things down after I've done them just so I can check them off. So
Oh, wow. So it might not even be on your checklist, but you'll add it if you've done it.
yes, yeah,
Oh,
exactly. So yeah.
that that is funny. Oh my gosh, that's funny. So you write a children's book series under, and I love this, JB Stockings,
Yeah,
right? You know,
yeah,
yeah, Jodi Bowersox. You get
yes.
socks and you get stocking.
Right.
I love your pen
That was
name.
a case where I had the name before I ever had a book done. I just thought, wow, if I ever wrote a children's book, I already have a name. So,
And what tell our audience a little bit about your children's book series and what they
well,
talk about.
I have one that's real new is I have this, if I can get the glare off of it, Sing a Story series. This is one of them called Little Brown Horsey.
Oh,
And I also have Up in the Air and Out in the Field. And they were basically songs that I made up for my kids when they were little. And so I've got the music in the back of the book so you can sing it if you don't want to read it. And if you're not one that reads music, you can even go to my website and hear me sing it. So I've got those I say are for birth to 3 years old. So they're for the littlest ones. And they're just really fun little easy things like little ones little brown horsey, clip clop, clip clop. And this one just goes through and it's sort of a little fantasy for kids because they just keep adding kids as it goes through. He goes and picks up a friend, and then they just get more and more, and then they end up back in the barn just taking care of the horse. And so it's
beautiful.
all just
Be-
kids taking care.
Beautiful, bright colors. And I'm assuming you did the illustrations as
I actually
well?
not.
No?
This was a case where I had all these stories, and I'm like, I'm getting somebody. I'm gonna hire somebody. So this was Gaspar Sabater. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce his name. Maybe it's Sabater. I should ask him sometime. But he's like in Argentina, I think,
Okay.
and is very reasonable, and he is does such a nice job, and he listens so well to instructions. And I had to guide him a little bit on horse paraphernalia and halters and bridles and how they fit on and all that, and send him pictures. And he's just cool with it. And my out in the field is mostly about a tractor. Out in the field, the tractor goes put, 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 put. And I had to school him a bit on farming implements, like he had like the hiller upside down, and I so he's like, finally he said, "How do you know so much about farming?" Been there, done that. So yeah, that
Where
was
did you
fun.
grow up? Where did you grow up?
South Central Nebraska on a farm.
All
So that
right.
that's basically my daddy's tractor in that book. And then Up in the Air is just about an airplane, and it's just another little fun ditty. This one, this one I did illustrate.
Ooh, that's beautiful. And for those of you just listening to the audio, you need to check out the YouTube so you can see these, or better yet, go to jodibowersox.com and buy these books. Oh my gosh, gorgeous.
Yeah, I wish I could get the layer off of there. Maybe, there, it's a little better.
Yeah.
So anyway, this has 20 cat portraits. Um, that's one of my things I do is pet portraits. And so I have them
Oh,
full of kitties, and they're all
gorgeous.
kitties that are either what kitties in our life at some point, That was Fiddlesticks.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my gosh, that's gorgeous.
Or they were my kids' cats. So and in the back I have a little glossary of all the cats and a little ditty about each one, and what made them special.
Yeah.
So this is a treasury book I just felt like I needed to do. The poem in it is very simple. Cats are fat or thin or small. They're furry and fluffy as round as a ball. Goes on from there. It's a poem I wrote in college. It sat around for this long. And then I finally thought, I paint cats. Why couldn't I illustrate that? So I already had like, oh, maybe 4 or 5 of them already done that are on my wall, like this one. And then I just filled in the rest. So this is, and yes, please buy this book because I have boxes and boxes of these books.
Um,
This is the only book I will leave to my kids in my will. I have so many of these.
I'll be contacting you after that because I there are many cat people in my life right now.
Yes,
Surprisingly, yes, and that is an
yes.
absolutely gorgeous book.
So I have a few other children's books, and like I think I am writing my 19th novel. Is should come out this summer. I have a photo shoot on Friday, hopefully, with a couple that I discover. I discover couples in my life, and I'm just like, hey, do you ever think about being on a book cover? And
Really?
yeah, I think I've been turned down once, but mostly people are like, sure, that would be great. So now this, I should have had a picture. Hold on, just 1 second, and I'll grab one.
Okay. And now I want to know how I can be in a photo shoot to get on one of her covers. Oh, did you hear me?
This gal I discovered in church.
It's beautiful. And that's
Ah,
a gorgeous cover too. Who does your covers?
my son, my older son, puts all my covers together. He's my photographer. He does all the Photoshop. And
Oh,
now this was my most recent publication. I found this couple on Shutterstock, which almost never happens that you find the right couple, but they were just perfect, even in the black jackets and everything. So
yeah,
I couldn't resist that couple. So we just paid for their picture,
yeah,
but my son does such a great job. I mean, he goes in and does all the hair stuff around the edges so it doesn't look pasted on, and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so he does a
Oh,
great job on that. So no,
really
I'll
nice
have
job.
lightning because lightning is the mode of transportation in my time travel series.
Okay, all right.
Um,
Fun.
so yeah, there we go. My new this one's Time Agents Complications. The new one coming out is Time Agents Deceptions.
All right. So that's a series of how many?
I don't know.
You don't know yet? Still working
I
on
don't
it?
know where it'll go. It might be 3, might be more. I don't know. Basically, this series, which is Jolt, Jump, and Jive, um, in between Jump and Jive is like 10-year span, and I just suggested at the end of this book that this couple here worked as time agents for 10 years. So I just went back to that and jumped out with a new series to show what were they doing for those 10 years. And so it could be, who knows, I could just go on and on. So we'll see. But right now I'm working on, I have never done this before. I have never started a new book before publishing, but I had this idea and I had all these delays. So I started, get this, a medieval romance. I
Okay.
I've never done that, but I read a lot of medieval, type romances,
Yeah.
and I just had this idea, and this like I've got like a third of a book done in a medieval. So I've just thrown in another genre that I never thought I would write in. So, but it's a nice change of pace. Writing time travel is very brain intensive.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have to make it all make sense and make all
Yes.
your, if you've opened a door, you got to close it, you got to
Yeah.
get everything just right. And so it can mess with your head. I've got calendars that I have to write out, and the jumps back and the jumps forward, and mystery is another one that really stresses your brain. You've got to get
Yes.
it all perfect, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this medieval romance is just pure joy. I don't have to think that hard about it. I can just let it flow out, and it can just be a fun adventure in the past. So So
But you
that's
still need to do some research, right? I mean, you still, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Well, yes, except it's kind of a fantasy medieval in that I'm creating my own world. It's not our history.
Okay.
It's not our medieval history. It's just a medieval history somewhere.
Will someone fall in love with a dragon? Were there dragons in medieval times?
I don't have any in mind. That would probably punch it over into fantasy medieval. Yeah. So anyway, that's just
Wow. Do you ever sleep?
um I do attempt it. I had struggled a lot with sleep in the last several years, but it's gotten better. I've figured out a few things, so I do actually get better sleep than I had for several years. I was in the
I need to figure out some things too because yeah, I'm so excited to get to the end of the novel I'm working on right now that I will, yeah, I'll think about it a lot before I go to sleep, and sometimes
well,
I don't sleep.
there are certain things that I cannot read before I go to bed. Something that's particularly intense emotionally, then I'm thinking about it too hard for the next, hour or two. So I have to be careful about what I read. So
No, no, I get that. So I understand that you're married to a guy who also publishes.
yeah.
So this fascinates me. What is that like? Are there rivalries? Do you compete? Do you bounce ideas off one another? Do you read one another's work? What's it like to have two published authors in the same home?
It's actually really, really good. I mean, way back. I mean, we met in the theater department, but at that time, he was writing a play. I wrote a play for that I put on for my senior project, directed, and so like when we were first married, we would have write nights. We're just gonna write together. I mean, we weren't necessarily writing on the same thing, but we were writing together.
Yeah.
That kind of went away with children, but then and he's very kindly my sugar daddy. He's got the full-time job, and so he has working on his third book, and I just read it recently. Actually, he's my first reader, I'm his first reader.
Oh,
And I think we help each other a lot. He points out stuff that don't make sense or whatever, and I say this doesn't work, and we go back and forth. And so I think we're a good team. He does all my layouts. He does the magic on my interiors, whereas my
okay.
older son does the magic on the exteriors. And my younger son even has done uh, illustrated one of my children's books. He did the drawing, and I did the watercolor on a little book called The Stubborn Princess, which is kind of
Oh,
out of print and we need to redo. But so yeah, he's a good artist too. I just can't get him to do any more. He did that one when he was in high school. He did an amazing job when he was a senior in high school. But we had a teacher with the whip there, and to get it done, we were working with like a virtual school art teacher, and I just proposed, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if we illustrated this book that I have all ready to go?" And she was on board, and like so. We did like an illustration a week. He would do the drawing and I would do the watercolor, and we just cranked it out then. And it's just because he can do what I cannot. I have to see it. I can't
okay.
draw something out of my head. If I draw something out of my head, it looks like I'm in second grade. But yeah, if I'm looking at it, I can draw this. I can do this. But he can draw characters. That's what's different than me. I can't do the character stuff. But
That's amazing. Your whole family's in on this publishing thing. That's
oh, and even my daughter-in-law is gonna. She did this woman's hair for this photo shoot. She's gonna do the hair for my next one. So yeah, I
that
like to.
is so
I like to keep
special.
the people around me.
Yeah, that's amazing and so special. And again, you are a Renaissance woman because you do so many things. You're also the president of Colorado Authors League.
I am for at least the next 6 months. So
Okay.
hopefully, I've got somebody to take over at the end of the year. But yes, that's been fun. The Colorado Authors League, I think, is a fantastic organization. I joined in 2013 and got on the board in 2017 as the secretary. kind of then moved on to various jobs around the table until, yeah, the last president, Barb Lundy, needed to step down.
Yeah.
And so then it was just up to me because I was kind of I had the most knowledge, I
Yeah.
guess, at that
Yeah.
time of how things were working and where we were going. And so I stepped into that. And it's just, I think, I mean, we did a major shift a few years ago of what our focus was, from doing fewer webinar type things that people just frankly weren't coming to anymore, and moving towards what do authors want.
Mhm.
They want promotion, they want marketing, they want to know how to do those things. And so we kind of stepped into that role, and to where we promote, I promote a book a day on social media. We have, the new releases on our website. So I think our website has been greatly improved. We made it colorful and useful, and it's got all kinds of information in there. So anybody listening, if you are a Colorado author or you have a connection to Colorado, even if you're in another state, if you've lived here at any point in your life, you are eligible for membership. So check us out, because we love our authors, and we try to promote them as best we can.
You do an amazing job of promotion, and I thank you for everything that you've done for me, for so many authors I know. And yeah, I mean, you're the perfect person to be the president because I understand you like making lists and checking them off.
Yes, yes, I do. It's a great I do.
So before we end, any advice to aspiring authors out there, other than join Cal if you can, Colorado
Right.
Authors League?
I would say, read, 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 read. Read good books. Read the best books. Unfortunately, there's a lot that's not good out there that would not make good lessons for you. But so if you find some really good books, kind of absorb the way they're written, the styles, and not that you want to emulate a style, but I think that the more styles that you read different, then you can kind of come up with your own out of all of that. In that way, we're a little bit like I think, in that we absorb what we read, and then we can
Yeah.
compile it in a way that is good for us. And I really get irritated with the people that have, oh, this is how you must write a book. This is, what everybody has their own way of doing things. As long as you've got decent grammar and people can understand what you've written, that's the main point, is making it clear. Then you can do a lot with just your style that breaks the rules, even, or just goes in different directions. But yeah, find your own way and your own path, and don't, like I said, don't worry about the tropes. Don't worry about the, I have to be just like so and so, or I have to follow their plan exactly. You've got people out there that are saying, you know, you have to write the whole first draft before you do any editing. And I'm just like, what world are you in? You're back with a typewriter, dude. That's what we did then, because we didn't want to redo it right away. But we've got word processors now. You don't have to be stuck in that. I edit everything. I that first 20,000 words I have edited so heavily because I feel like that's my foundation.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know and so I go back over that so much before I move on. And by the time, I'm always doing that process of writing and then rewriting, moving ahead, rewriting it, so that by the time I get to the end of my first draft, that I will
Yeah.
call it, it's really pretty much done,
Yeah.
because yeah, I'm going to do a few more edits after that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that process. Or the woman who says, you can't write your first line until you've written your last line. Like, okay, well, there have been some first lines I have changed, but you know what? I have come up with some really great first lines sometimes that I have kept, through the whole book. So I just don't think those are hard, fast rules. And most hard, fast rules, I would just say, oh, throw out, and make your own way.
I love it. I love it. I love it. There's something to be said for rules, And they say if you can break rules once you know how to use them. So
Right.
there's something to be said for that too. The idea of NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month in November, is that you write, and you never cross out and you never go back. You just go, 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 go. There's something to be said for that, for getting a good start. But I'm with you. I can't. I
Yeah.
can't totally keep going without editing when I go for a walk in the morning and I think, oh my goodness, that scene needs to have this in it, or how I saw it, I'm seeing it differently now. And so, yeah, I'm
And like
with you. I'm
that
with
one
you.
character tells you who they are all of a sudden, and that changes something back here.
Yes.
I'm not going to keep going until I fix that, So,
Yes. Just recently, I had a character in my novel, a doctor, and the doctor was male. And I met a woman, her name was Vesper. And I decided, oh my gosh, I need to have a character named Vesper. Where could I put her in the novel? And I changed the male doctor to be Dr. Vesper
yeah,
because I wanted to use that name. And I'm like, why do I have to have a male doctor? And of course, that changes
yeah,
relationships a little bit, and how you speak and how the emotions go. So, yeah, oh, I'm totally with you, girl. Totally with you. If you know you have to edit something as you're going, do it.
yeah,
Do
I
it. Because
agree.
otherwise, you don't sleep at night because
Right,
you worry about how am I going to fix this when I need to. Just fix it.
exactly. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm to the point now where I will forget something that's amazing that I thought, I've got to
Yeah.
fix.
Oh yeah. I have my little voice memo with me pretty much always, and yeah,
Yeah.
I use that a lot. Well, my goodness, Jodi Bowersox, author of Mars Madness and about 19 other books, by the
Right.
way, and in many different genres and genre breaking genres, and fun and different and inspirational. How do you want people to find more about you?
Well, yeah, the easiest is jodibowersox.com, and that will take you in any other directions. I have an Etsy shop that's connected to there, and so it's all starts there, and you can find just about anything from that starting point.
Awesome. You will send me some photos, I think, and links, and I will have show notes with photos and links on my website at leadvillelaurel.com when we're done here. And Jodi, I gotta let you go because you got things to do. You've got books to write.
Look at my list. I'll show you my list.
Check off interview with Laurel McHargue today.
I already checked off bag sticks because I went out and did that. So,
Bag sticks. Let's see. I spread 35 bags of mulch yesterday, and I've got to pick up 34 5 more today.
wowzers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I live.
Yeah,
You bag them and ship them off. Yeah, I need them. Jodi, this was an absolute delight. As I told my listeners out there, you are a Renaissance woman, and you're fun, and you're filled with ideas, and I love you, and keep breaking rules.
oh, I will. I don't know that I know how to do it any other way. So,
Alrighty,
thanks
well,
so much.
let's think about that date and the flying air tube thingamajiggy.
Okay.
Maybe. I'll dare you. I'll dare you.
Okay. Okay.
All right. I hope to see you soon, Jodi, and
Thanks
thanks for visiting with Alligator Preserves.
so much.
You take care. Bye.